Some games tell you exactly how to play them and some don't. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on GameRanks, 10 hidden mechanics big games forgot to tell you. Starting off at number 10 in Horizon Zero Dawn, did you know that as you hunt and kill the machines, they don't just remain stationary, they actually evolve. What's interesting about it is it doesn't scale with like your level or anything. It depends on how many times you've killed certain enemies. Some of them, like a Broadhead or a Scrapper or even a Strider, you have to kill a bunch of times, 10 to 15 in fact. Whereas with something like the Stormbird, you only have to kill one single time and it evolves. Now, this is a mechanic that is just not discussed anywhere in the game or any material about the game. It's something the developers just did off in the background, and honestly, it makes a lot of sense with the story, the world. I mean, given the fact that you're in a post-apocalyptic world where machines have evolved to dominance over human society, it's actually kind of cool. It's a mechanic that really fits in with the story. And in some respects, it's really cool that they don't bother telling you. It's just a little background detail that forces the world to maintain itself and also changes the difficulty level of the game depending on how aggressive you are. At number 9 is Final Fantasy VIII's level scaling. Now, this is something that a lot of players probably wish they'd known. Enemies and bosses scale to your level in Final Fantasy VIII. So in contrast to every single other Final Fantasy game, grinding means nothing. It's dumb, it's pointless, it means nothing. It's worse than pointless even. If you go grinding for levels to power up before a tough fight, you actually make the game harder. In this game, leveling up does very little to increase your stats. Most stat gains are just from using the junctioning system, which is complicated and weird too, but it does explain it to you. But enemies get pretty significant stat boosts when you level up, so if you're leveling up without making use of the junction system, you're just making the game harder. That's it. That's all that's happening. Of course, this is also how a lot of players completely break the game's difficulty. They stay low level, abuse the junction system, and make themselves super overpowered. They avoid all enemy encounters, they stay low level, and they just steamroll the bosses like it's nothing. In general, it's kind of an underexplained and even a little poorly designed system, but if you like min-maxing to destroy a game's difficulty, it's pretty awesome. I don't know, there's some level of feeling kind of like you're cheating, but you're really just doing the system the way it incentivizes you to. And number 8 is Demon's Souls World Tendency. The games of From Software like Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Sekiro are absolutely filled with unexplained mechanics. It's practically a staple of the series, and part of the reason fans like these games is because of the mystery they sort of create. But probably the most baffling and mysterious of any mechanic in any of their games is World Tendency from Demon's Souls. It's basically a mechanic that affects how easy or difficult a world is. Your world tendency is determined by a few factors. It'll move towards white when you kill demon bosses and certain unique enemies. White makes the game easier, of course. It makes it so you have more health in soul form, and healing items drop more frequently, and enemies are weaker, etc., etc. But on the other hand, it moves towards black when you die in a world or kill certain NPCs. In general, this makes your game harder. You have less health in soul form, and enemies have increased HP, increased attack, increased defense. So basically, dying a lot in the game can make it harder, which is maybe a little counterintuitive, but there's pretty much no way to know without looking it up. So you might die at the game because it's too hard for you, and then find that it's harder, and just be like, why don't I get better at this game? It's just meaner to me gradually. Am I getting worse? Black World Tendency has some other weird effects too, like making some things called primeval demons showed up. It's actually pretty interesting, but the game it says nothing about it.
I am a humble servant. I do not wish to interfere.
At number 7, Hotline Miami allows you to take a human shield. Now, it was a pretty common mechanic seen in third-person shooters in the 6th and 7th generation of consoles, but you can take people hostage in Hotline Miami, a sort of retro game. It is a violent action game, so it's not like out of place or anything, but it really just doesn't tell you or explain to you that it's something you can do or how to do it. The requirements are really specific too. You have to have a one-handed gun like a pistol, and you have to execute a knockdown enemy. Remember, pistols are pretty rare in Hotline Miami. Two-handed guns are really the order of the day, and knocking down an enemy with a pistol equipped is tricky, forcing you to either quickly pick up a pistol after knocking the enemy down, or knocking them down from kicking in a door. A lot of people beat the game without even realizing you can take a human shield. and a lot of people only do it to get the achievement. And really, taking someone hostage isn't really that useful in the game. It can absorb a bullet, but no matter how fast the action is, you're probably just putting yourself in more danger by engaging in the process of taking a human shield rather than less. The feature was so underused, they just didn't even bother with it with the sequel. They removed it. Although they probably could have told people it was there. That might have done something. But, whatever. At number 6 is Resident Evil 6 and the secret moves that it has. Considered the black sheep of the mainline Resident Evil games, number 6 is a crazy game. It's wild. What? There's a lot of pretty interesting secret abilities and moves that are just never explained at all. Plural, multiple, many. Like, you can recover from knockdowns, for instance, immediately by pressing back and dodge, or you can instantly revive yourself after getting downed if you've got first aid spray equipped. They don't tell you that. That's tremendously useful. Nothing. Another one is if you press RB plus X, you'll automatically combine all your herbs. Meleeing with your back to an enemy makes you do an elbow strike, which is easy to follow up with another attack. If you got a knife equipped as Chris, you can do a double slash while dodging backwards, or pressing RT and down, which gets you to do a stab attack. The amount of different moves and abilities you have is up there with a Metal Gear game. It's something no one expected, and most people didn't even realize is possible even while playing the game. And, it actually makes the game a lot more fun, by the way, to know these things, which is perhaps the most irritating element of it, because they tell you none of it. At number 5 is Pac-Man's Ghost AI. We've all seen Pac-Man, and although it may seem like ghosts you have to avoid, just move in like a random pattern and that's what you do, it's actually not the case. Blinky the Red Ghost chases Pac-Man, so basically they follow his movements. Pinky the Pink Ghost is an ambusher and tries to get in front of Pac-Man. Inky the Cyan Ghost is said to be the same as Pinky, but what's actually going on is Inky patrols the area. From the player's perspective, it might as well be random, however, it's a patrol action. Last, Clyde, who doesn't have a rhyming name, he's orange and moves around randomly, actually randomly, and tries to stay away from Pac-Man altogether. Knowing how each ghost operates can actually make playing Pac-Man a little easier, and keeping in mind a little easier. Not a lot, but a little. At number 4, the entire Donkey Kong Country series Jump Roll. It's an ability that's in pretty much every Donkey Kong Country game, which, by the way, I have played and beaten all of the 2D games. They're phenomenal, each and every one. But, you're never told this, but if you roll off a ledge, you have a brief window of time where you can still jump even as you're falling, which is an incredibly useful skill that you sometimes literally have to use if you want to get all the secrets in a level. A lot of people have finished these games without having any idea you can do this, and for them it just seemed like there were a few hidden secrets that were just impossible to reach. It's a classic ability that's barely explained, and it's basically the precursor to the coyote time we see in a lot of modern platformers like Celeste, that make it you can jump even after falling off a ledge. It's a great ability once you know about it, but it might take a lot of deaths before you realize it's even possible, and developing the sensibility of timing can take a while as well. And number 3 are the secret ending choices to Silent Hill 2. Something that makes sense for the game not to tell you, let's be frank. But the end of the game is determined by a bunch of secret factors that have to do with how you play the game. In most games, your ending is determined by some kind of choice, but in this game, the end happens based on a bunch of tiny little triggers. Like, you get the leave ending if you play the game like you want to survive. Let's say you heal immediately after getting hurt, or don't listen to Maria and you listen to the sickbed conversation with Mary before the last boss. Very specific. On the other hand, if you want to see the in-water ending, you have to play the game in a little bit more of a suicidal manner. You leave your health in the red a lot, you look at Angela's knife and listen to the recording on the desk in the Nightmare Hotel, and no one tells you any of this. The endings are all really different, and so is how you get them. Although I would say how you get them is even more arbitrary. If you want to see all of them, you're pretty much just going to have to go online and get a guide, because you're not going to figure it out. Not on your own. That's not going to happen. At number 2 is Kingdom Hearts 1's character questionnaire. This one's bizarre. It's hidden from you in the original Kingdom Hearts, which, almost everything is at least obscure in some way in Kingdom Hearts. But it's something that can make a pretty noticeable difference, and you might not even realize it was a thing. In the beginning of the game, you get the choice between a few weapons: the sword, the rod, and the shield. Obviously, this affects what weapons you can use, but after you go to Destiny Island and some fun fantasy characters make your acquaintance, they'll ask you some random questions. You probably won't know the first time through, but the questions determine basically how you'll gain experience at different levels. The first option on all the questions makes it so you'll gain levels faster up to level 50 and then slower from 50 to 100. Selecting the second options for the questions makes it more balanced. It's the same for 1 through 100. The third option makes it so that you gain experience between 1 and 50 slower and 5 and 100 faster. Why is this in the game? I have no idea. In fact, it seems arbitrary and strange, but it is Kingdom Hearts, so there's a lot of arbitrary and strange things in those games. And finally, at number 1 in the Pokemon series, the Effort Value Training, or EVs. Pokemon games are stuffed with hidden, obscure, and all-around unexplained game mechanics, but probably the most arcane, the EV. It's called base points in the early games, but these values can affect a Pokemon's stats. And it's really complicated. Like, if you crunch the numbers and do things to improve EVs, you will get a more powerful Pokemon, but it's not going to be something that you understand right off. And they don't explain it, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't have put on this list. If you're big into Pokemon games, you heard all this before, cool. But if not, it does seem impossibly complicated and quite a mountain to climb. How you improve EVs seems to change drastically from game to game, too, so, I mean, they've become slightly less complicated through the years, but still. Maybe the weirdest part of the whole thing is the Pokerus, or Pokemon Virus from Generation 2. That's a rare status ailment that doubles the effort points you gain in battle. If it were a single-player only game, it would really be pretty unimportant, but people love to play Pokemon competitively, so making your Pokemon as powerful as possible is something a lot of people are serious about doing. And if you want a Pokemon with the best stats, you're going to have to deal with EVs. But like I said, they're tremendously complicated, and this is a minute of a video. Not possible to explain it. Take my word on it. Well, that's a bunch of complicated stuff that games didn't explain to you. What do you think? Leave us a comment. Let us know. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. The best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe, and don't forget to enable all notifications. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter @FalconTheHero. We'll see you next time right here on Game Ranks.